I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Wanderong people, and pay my respects to elders and past and present. Thank you for attending today as we celebrate 50 years of our wonderful organisation. I'd like to congratulate John Whiting for organising this event and thank all the sponsors and the City of Ballarat for assisting us with this celebration. A thank you must also go out to our special guests who join us today. Councillor Belinda Coate, Samantha McIntosh and CEO for Ballarat, Evan King. Cotmar, Mel Rowe, Peter Hyde from Brisbane Tramway Museum and our multiple guests from other museums, national and internationally today. Over the past 3 decades of being a member, I have been fortunate enough to watch our organisation grow with the support of all tiers of government, community and wonderful volunteers. We have been able to position ourselves to be one of the leading tourist attractions in Ballarat. I have always been impressed by what our foundation members was able to achieve 50 years ago, and I've been able to experience it firsthand over the past decade when we look back in what we have achieved. The new museum, track replacement, restoration of the restaurant tram, building large off-site facility, improving facilities for our volunteers, the ongoing restoration of our historic 100-year-old trams, improved facilities for our archives and the history of Ballarat, and accredited museum with Museum Australia and ONSA. All these play an important part in our museum moving forward into the future. I would like to now welcome Councillor Belinda Coate to the stage. Thank you.
Just adjust that a tiny bit for me. Thank you so much, and so lovely to see you all here today. Well done and well spoken, Paul. And congratulations on the perfect weather. I'm not quite sure who's responsible for that, but good job on the sun shining. That's excellent. It's so nice to see people out and about. It's nice to be able to gather in person. As Paul mentioned, I'm Councillor Belinda Coates, a Central Ward councillor, and I'm here representing City of Ballarat and the Mayor today. And I'll also acknowledge we're gathering here on Wadawurrung country and pay respect to the traditional custodians and elders past and present, and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. This is a really important location for First Nations people, Lake Wendouree, and we've got the beautiful First Nations sculptures up at North Gardens too. So it's terrific to be here for the 50-year celebration for the Tram Museums. Who in the crowd is old enough? Who saw the last tram or went on the last tram? How many of you? Actually, quite a few. Yeah. Who's been on a Ballarat tram before? Yeah, lots of you. Great to see. So I would also like to acknowledge Paul Mong, who's the Tramway Museum President, Mr. Richard Gilbert, Tramway Museum founding member, and Mr. Mel Rowe, Secretary of the Council of Tramways Australia. Also take the opportunity to thank some supporters. So there's Beeline, CB Fitness, Coles, Peter Lambert Designs and Best of Ballarat. And I think what we're seeing today is just the great value of volunteers, what volunteers can achieve in a city. When volunteers work together, they can really achieve such a lot. When we look at the terrific projects, the Tramway Museum, the amazing building behind us, and as Paul said, they've done a terrific job of working with all levels of government. So City of Ballarat Council's really proud to work with the Tramway Museum on various projects, and I know the state government have contributed and the federal government through infrastructure funding. So it really is a genuine collaboration, and it's so great to see everyone almost everyone, I was just talking to volunteers before, almost everyone laments the day that that tram stopped in Ballarat, don't they? I mean, we all miss them and we're all very nostalgic about them as well. I had the opportunity in 2016 when there was the 45-year celebration here to actually drive one of the trams, and believe it or not, it did stay on the tracks. It did. It stayed on track, which was pretty impressive. And I got a little bit sentimental about it as well. The tram that I drove was the number 40, the Sebastopol, and that's the one that my late mum talks about catching from down the very bottom of Sebastopol near the Royal Mail. And I think back to those times and how important public transport was back then. It still is now, but I think back then the trams were really just so well used and so well loved. So look, just in rounding out, this Tramway Museum, as I mentioned, is such a terrific volunteer project, but it contributes so much to the local community and economy as well. So after the past 2 years in particular, we've all really felt the pinch, and so has the tourism economy. But having this incredible facility here at the beautiful Botanical Gardens location, it's a draw card. The sun's shining, we're in such beautiful surrounds, and locals and visitors all have the opportunity to visit and enjoy what's on offer here. So Paul touched on the collaboration of all levels of government. So there's been stage 1 and stage 2 of the project, significant contributions from all levels. And just in wrapping up, City of Ballarat, on behalf of City of Ballarat and the Mayor, I would like to thank and congratulate all of the members on their work, for everything that they do, all the terrific work they do, and for all of the achievements. So City of Ballarat really looks forward to continuing what's been an incredible partnership, and we're incredibly grateful for the work that gets done. So please give the Tramway Museum a big round of applause and congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Belinda. Well spoken. As I look across the crowd today, it's amazing the amount of people that are here to celebrate, but it really does show the importance that the Tramway Museum does play in the community, and I'd like to thank you all for attending. I now would like to introduce founding member Richard Gilbert to the stage. What we're celebrating today revolves around a whole group of passionate volunteers that got together at the start 50 years ago to really build the organisation. I'll let Richard explain a bit more. If you could all welcome Richard Gilbert.
Okay, welcome everybody. It's nice to see you come along. I'm one of the founding members. I'm not the founding member, I'm a founding member. I think even Alan Hunnell down the front here is a founding member. So it's nice to be spoken about by Paul and considered with some reputation around the place. But we've gone and done a lot over the 50 years. We first had our first meeting in May 1971, where we got together and we actually formed the group at the Railway Institute at Flinders Street Station, the old VRI, and it was a group of sort of exuberant uni student types and young people who knew how to take on the world in the 70s, and we formed a group, and then we came up to Ballarat. We met the Lake Wendouree Tramway Museum Committee. It was more of a group of staid older people who knew the politics of Ballarat and how it all worked, and actually it became a good formula because we had the angry young men, the uni students, take on the world, but we knew about trams and how they ran, and it was a great passion of ours that we understood it. The people in Ballarat had the connections with the council, the local people, the media, and so by a blending of the two age groups, we formed our museum from what seemed to be a bit of an impossible task. And we got the site here leased by the council, and we've developed ever since. In 1981 we celebrated our 10th year, We had a big event. I even wrote a book as the co-authors over there too, so we all remember those days. Then we had our 21st anniversary celebrations in 1992, and that was something that we really enjoyed, and we achieved so much gold. And in the 1980s, we started off in 1971, the old shed was against the fish hatchery there, 3 tracks, and then we moved into the green shed which is to its left, and now we've moved into this. In 2022 we're celebrating our 51 years, which is great. One of our members in 1975, Bill Kingsley, said, look, there's tramway museums in every other capital city in Australia and a couple of regional cities. Let's get together and talk with these people. And prior to that, we all ran ourselves individually. We didn't really talk with each other. And then we formed a group called the Council of Tramway Museums of Australasia. We had our first conference in Ballarat in 1975. And now it's flowed into a big organisation that lobbies government and VicTrack to get spare parts to maintain and restore trams in Australia and New Zealand. Mel Rose here, he's the chairman of COTMAR now, the Council of Tramway Museums of Australasia. We've got 2 New Zealanders here who belong to COTMAR. We've got Clinton Pearce and Mel, remind me, Clinton Pearson and Vincent Chan from Auckland. They're welcome. We've got representatives, Peter Hyde from the Brisbane Tramway Museum. We've got Ian Hansen from the Sydney Tramway Museum. We've got other tourist railways represented. We've got the Walhalla Railway and whatever. But anyway, look, there's so many you forget. But thanks very much for being involved and all those coordinating efforts to keep our museums running. As a result of talking to all the other museums and working together, over the years we've borrowed Bendigo Crossbench Tram number 17, which is a nice open tram that ran along the gardens here in the summer season. When we celebrated 150 years of discovery of gold in Ballarat, we borrowed Bendigo number 18, a maximum traction big bogie tram like these ones you're looking at here, and it was painted gold. We ran that in the street. We've now progressed to the stage that we've got Victorian Railways tram number 28, I think it is, isn't it? 41, I can't remember all the numbers. So the VR cars here, now Tony Smith, who has the tramway workshops at Haddon, has loaned that to us. That's fantastic. Warrington Cameron, he restored the Geelong tram number 2, and that's in the depot now. We've done a deal with the Adelaide Tramway Museum and have been given back a Ballarat bogie tram number 34 that's out at Tony's workshop at Haddon, being assessed to be restored and put on our tramway. And the next exciting tram to come here is Launceston 14, and it's going to sit here on its way to Sydney. The Sydney Tramway Museum are fully occupied at the moment and haven't got room for it, so it's going to sit here, so we'll have a Launceston tram. And it's all in the spirit of cooperation amongst everybody, and that's fantastic to see. We've developed great friendships with people. All the steam rail boys, electric rail boys are there too. They restore the electric train in Melbourne. And a number of people have come up to me today to speak, shake hands and reintroduce themselves. It's fantastic. We have this fraternity all interested in the same general purpose. One thing I'll finish on with is acknowledging this development is when we got the tram shed extended from the first 3 tracks to the next 4, Jessie Scott was the Mayor of Ballarat. And Jessie Scott stood up here in those years in the mid-1980s and she said, the council agonised for ages to make the extra land available to you people, and we've taken a brave decision, don't ask for any more. We got that. So we've done well. So thank you all for your support. I've enjoyed 50 years. I don't know if I'll last another 50, but we're doing the best we can. Thank you for your support today and coming along to our museum. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I'd now like to introduce Mel Rowe from COTMAR to say a few words. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. I won't keep you long. Most of what I wanted to say has already been said, so that's great. Good afternoon. My name is Mel Rowe, and I'm the Secretary of the Council of Tramway Museums of Australasia. That's a mouthful, so we call it COTMA. It's always a pleasure to visit the beautiful city of Ballarat, and I want to acknowledge the care of country over many centuries by the traditional custodians of this land that we're standing on, the Wadawurrung and the Djadjawurrung people, and to recognise their continuing connection to the land and the waterways. I pay my respects to their elders past and present and emerging, and extend this to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people present today. Thank you for what you've given us as a country, or shared with us. You never gave it to us. Ballarat Tram people have been an exemplar of good community engagement right from the start, at the end of the SEC era in 1971. They take community seriously, and they broadened their view beyond Ballarat very early in the piece. As Richard said, the origins of COTMA were right here in Ballarat in 1975, just after they'd started running the trams. Bill Kingsley was the mover and shaker behind the establishment of COTMA, and his name is now attached to our biennial award for outstanding and achievement, an award that this tram museum has won on several occasions. COTMA represents over 20 tram and tramway museums across Australia and New Zealand. In more recent times, Ballarat Tram Museum and the neighbours down the road at Haddon Tramway Workshop have been key supporters in a working partnership with state government agencies like VicTrack in retaining and preserving important resources for tramcar heritage. Melbourne actually has probably the best collection of spare tram motors anywhere in the world, and there's a few people looking meaningfully at me saying, I want some. I'm delighted to see that this group and their community commitment are now being recognised by all levels of government. And on behalf of the whole heritage tram sector, I want to sincerely thank the councillors and MPs of this region for their generous and valued support. It's not only an encouragement to the Ballarat Tram Museum, obviously, but it's an encouragement to all of us in the sector. I hold a seat on the recently formed Railway and Tramway Heritage Victoria Limited Board, and I often take the opportunity to point to these guys, Ballarat Tram Museum, as an example of the very best of practice. They do everything well. They run the trams well, they do the restoration well, but most importantly, they care for one another and they engage with the community, and that's a fabulous asset. So congratulations, Ballarat Tram Museum, and may you continue to be that exemplar for at least the next 49 years.
Thanks, Mel. Well spoken. We've got apologies from the local member for Wendry, Juliana Addison. She couldn't make it today, but she does thank us for our support for moving forward for another 50 years. So she's been a fantastic supporter of the museum, and basically our whole track replacement project went around with her support. I'd also like to highlight Brad Bernane, who's over there, who's from VicTrack. VicTrack plays an important role for the whole sector of the organisation, and we really do appreciate their support. So thanks, Brad, for coming up today. That's the end of the speeches now. We're about to, I'd ask if you want to board a tram, there's plenty to choose from. We're actually going to do a cavalcade of trams, so feel free to hop on any particular tram that's operating and go for a ride. Thank you again for your support.